is the MTPredictor Weekly Market Update for April 6th. So we've got a new quarter here. We'll have earnings season coming around the corner. An interesting time in the markets. We also had, if you look, we'll start here, was actually the courtesy of stockcharts.com here, the Dow Transportation average. And you can see in 2014, transports made a new high. Right, later came back just after March, or in March there, made a new high and made a third new high here last week. Now, for those that follow technical analysis and the Dow theory, if we look at the chart of the Dow, you can see here's a daily chart of the Dow where the Dow made the new high here. This was actually at the very end of 2013 in December, failed to make a new high there later in January, failed again to make a new high in March, whereas the transports were making new highs. And this was a problem for those that follow like Dow theory, because you want the Dow Industrials to confirm the Dow Transportation. In other words, they need to both be making highs at the same time to confirm that, yes, we are in fact in a bull market. And we hadn't gotten that until Friday. Basically, we were able to make a new high on Friday. Now, I like to see, I think most the folks that follow Dow theory are just happy if it trades above, makes a new high. I look for the market to close above the prior high. And not only close above that high, but have that, whatever that high is, that high close is, that to be traded above for confirmation that the trend is, or the market should continue higher. Now, just because we got a confirmation, now the S&P made new highs, the Dow made new highs, confirms the transports. That tells, according to Dow theory, that we're in a bull market. It confirms that, and basically that you can be a buyer on pullbacks, unless that we get some type of confirmation otherwise that we're in something other than a bull market. So on Friday we did make the new high, but you see we closed a nice fat red sellers candle. We had sellers overcoming buyers. We also had high volume here, this red high volume spike on Friday, indication that that was professional selling. So this may have some legs. We may get some follow through. We'll see if they take out Friday's low. More follow through to the downside. Maybe they get below the 50 period again. That's the red moving average here, into some decision point support. Where is this? Down around 15,000. Call 550. And you can see, here's your 200 period, the blue, and your 50 period, the red. That's when the market's in an uptrend. That's your value area, if you want to call it. In a bull market, professionals like to buy in this area, and you can see when the price comes below the 50 period but above the 200 period, the market tends to move in the direction of the trend, back in the direction of the trend after the correction. So we had a couple of tests here of the 200 period on the daily chart more recently. And so maybe we're going to go into maybe a longer period of, and we kind of talked about this last week, kind of getting those false breaks. We're seeing a lot of that. And maybe the market's kind of putting a rounded, more rounded top, and maybe it's going to be taking a little more time as to a, instead of just a really quick flush type thing. We'll see. But anyway, so the other thing I was looking at is, now we had the Dow and the S&P making new highs, but if we're going to look around at some of the other markets, let's look at the DAX here. Now you can see the DAX has not, or failed to make a new high. So here was a high back here in the DAX, and you see the DAX has not confirmed that. Now we have that DAX 10,000. We talked about this before. That's a nice fat round number. Obviously the DAX is in that uptrend as well, and failed to confirm with the other markets making a new high. That DAX 10,000 is out there, and that's got to be a pretty attractive area. If I take a decision point off of the high here, all right, that's going to come in the high end of the decision point. Next decision point resistance here is that DAX 10,000 is up there. So we'll see. Eventually, it doesn't mean that we can't correct first. Maybe come back into the value area, into some support, and then the uptrend continues. But also, if we look at the NQ here, again, the NQ obviously has not made that new high. Again, we had an indication that the high volume spike there, the unusual volume activity on Friday. All right, the Nasdaq is has come into the value area here. You can see that's been those areas where buyers have stepped in on the uptrend. And again, we'd only look at this if we can visually see that that market is in a bull market or uptrend in this case. So it's come into that area. Here's your next support. But the point being is that the NQ has failed to make a new high. And if we look at the Russell here, again, the same with the Russell. So made a high here, failed to make a new high, failed to make a new high where the Dow and the S&P have made a new high on Friday. So you have that divergence, and again, the Russell now is in that, come into that value area. Here's your next support level here, around that 1134 in change. But those are those buying opportunities here below the 50 period, above the 200 period in that uptrend. All right, let's take a look at, well, let's go on to, let's go with silver here since I've got that up. And silver, we've, let me go to the weekly chart here. So again, this was a potential trade setup that folks were in here in the wave 4 looking for the wave 5 target. We haven't reached that target yet, haven't gotten stopped at break even either, and this is one where we may be looking at more of a rounded top in the stock market, maybe more of a rounded, maybe we're going to get a rounded kind of bottom in the metals. But we can try to keep below that $20, at least not take out that swing high here. You're going to have some decision point resistance here. All right, so if you are short this, all right, stop at break even around 22.90 or 23.10, whatever. Then here's your 50 period. Again, that held as resistance. We rolled over there. We do need to take out that swing low. If we can take the swing low out here, we will have some minor support just ahead of the wave 5 target. But that would give us a retest of the wave 3 low here is what we're looking for. If on the other hand things just come up here and take us out, well, then we'll reevaluate and say perhaps if the low is in here, then we'll be in a new trend in the opposite direction to the upside. And well, if we look at a little bigger perspective, again, and we've looked at this before, but if we look at our 5-wave pattern up when it tested the prior high there from the 80s around that $50 level, it was a wave 5 up. You can see that was a extended wave 5, and then we typically anticipate the market should correct from there back to the wave 4 DP. Okay, and that's what we've got. The question is now is will we get a retest of the low here, one last retest. If this area holds as support, this decision point area holds as support, then the trend which was up prior should continue up. If they do take this level out to the downside, now they haven't done that, but if they did, all right, then we would anticipate that they're going to wipe this whole 5-wave pattern up out. and we take our decision point off of the bottom of wave 1, and that would be the next target around $10. Right, but we don't have that yet. So far this has been holding as support. We're just looking to see if they can get one more test of the lows here, get into the actual wave 5, the minimum wave 5 target anyway, before we get a rally or correction back to, again, the wave 4 DP, which would be this level, back around the 25.50 level. So we'll see how that plays out. Here the dollar index on the weekly chart here. We can see we had a top in the dollar, a bottom in the dollar, another bottom in the dollar. This was the last one, and this is the level that the dollar just can't seem to get through. And it's it's kind of just gone sideways here. You can see it's kind of trading in that channel here on the weekly chart. So not a whole lot happening there. The dollar is still the lesser of all the evils in terms of the other currencies. People still have more trust in the dollar than they do in, and I think they have more trust in this country than they do in other countries. So, but as far as the chart looks here, it's again it's a little sideways. Didn't really come into decision point support here on the daily chart. We have gotten into some resistance on Friday here. All right, had sellers overcoming buyers, so maybe we get some selling coming in on the dollar this week. We'll see. And as the dollar was hitting resistance, you can see the euro was selling off. Here's the daily chart, and you see the opportunities here as the trend has begun to move higher in the euro of buying below the 50 period and above the 200 period. We've kind of come into that level again here, not quite into the decision point support level here, which is going to come in right around that 136. And your next resistance here in terms of the daily chart now here. And I don't think this is going to give us a good pattern there. So there's your next support anyway. This might be a level to look at. If we do get into this level, potentially looking maybe to buy there. And we'll see how that progresses. If the dollar does sell off from its resistance here, then maybe this stops in this area and just reverses from here. Maybe some buyers step in under this 50 period here and start buying. We did have a blue buyers candle on Friday, whereas we had the red sellers candle in the dollar. So, and had some high activity, I guess we'll say, there on Thursday, followed by the buyers overcoming sellers on Friday. So maybe the swing low is in there. We'll see, but here's the next support below Friday's close. And finally, some of the a couple things. Let's look at the Dow on Friday, because we've seen a lot of what we call our Holy Grail trade setups. They're in a good cycle, if you will. We had another one here in the Dow and the S&P. This happens to be the Dow on Friday, but this TS1 sell signal is an ABC correction in wave 2, and if I just right click and I choose Elliott wave intermediate, you see the wave 2 or B area here, and so we got to move out of there, but you see how it closed back in, and the software said that's acceptable and generated a sell signal. Now the reason why we look at this as a wave 1 rather than a wave A, B, and a C is this starting point here. And the reason we look at this is the 3-minute chart, but we go to the 15-minute chart again before the market opens, and we take, there was the high there. Let's eliminate that and see why was that an important high in our estimation. Well, here was the last swing high, and if I right click and take our decision point tool here, it gives us an area here of major resistance. So it's telling us if the market comes up into this level, all right, this is a significant high. You can see the high volume spike that came in there as well. So we go down to the 3-minute chart then and we say, okay, if this is an important high here, then we can pick the top. We got a red seller's candle there on high volume. We can pick the top and sell, and pick a target. Let's just say we pick a target here. Oops. Right, we could do something like this. We have the ability to pick the top without taking any more risk than any other trade, in the meat of the trend, if you will. Or we can wait. All right, let's put our, didn't mean to clear all that off, but let's put our decision point back on here. Go back down to the 3-minute chart. All right, so here's our significant high. All right, if this is a potential trend change, which we anticipate this level, if the trend was up here, we anticipate the trend which was up may turn and become a trend in the downward direction. So this is why we look at this important high and this impulse move away from the important high as a potential wave 1, and then where the TS1 is, this wave 2. All right, and the sell signal where the TS1 is, again, it's looking for a, I just want to clear that. Is looking for, if I just put the analysis on here, right, the software sees the minimum wave C targets here and typical wave C targets, and it's saying, yeah, you've got enough risk reward to do a trade here. But because we deem this as a significant high and this is a wave 1, the first ABC correction in a wave 2, that's where Elliott said this is the area you want to look for, the big wave 3. So we'd be looking for this as a typical wave 3. That's why we call it the Holy Grail trade, because it's the lowest risk, highest reward trade. So it takes a little, in this case, let's say $340 risk and turns it into an $1,800 profit there. You can see it actually got more downside. So we did have strength here on our, if I can grab it here. We had strength on our what we call our strong trend filter. That was an indication. It was telling us back in here, as this oscillator got into the gray band at the bottom, it's our strength band at the bottom. This indicates here, back here, was telling us that there was maybe more downside ahead. So you could actually pass on the initial target here and start trailing with a trailing stop. That's these red dots above price, and really just rode this all the way down near the close for about 10 times, almost 11 times your initial risk. But even at the minimum or typical wave 3 target here, it's still a very, very nice trade. So what we call the Holy Grail trade setup, just because it's the lowest risk, highest reward trade, and that's why Steve developed the software to begin with about 13 years ago. All right, finally, take a look at some of the option candidates here. Snap-on tools. You see the initial buy price here where the red line is. Had a nice rally there. I don't know if it quite made it into the resistance level there. It sold off with everything selling off on Friday there, but you did go from 110, almost a 111 there, to over 115. So certainly some opportunity there. This was RSG, which is Republic Services. You see the decision point, so we hit some resistance off of this swing here, and there's some divergence up here as well. All right, so take note of that. If you're going to continue to hold this one is good through April 22nd. All right, so you could. It's only from 34.20 here to didn't quite get as high as 35. So not a lot of room there, but has gotten some movement in the right direction there. 5607 here for ALL, and that's Allstate, and moved the high of the move so far there at 57.28. So a little over a dollar a move there, and that is good through. Let's see, Allstate's going to be good through April, end of April, April 29th. ADS, now this one has pulled back. It actually broke the decision point support here. We were waiting for this one to kind of pull back because it was in resistance at the time. So this is actually pulled that back beyond the initial support, and this one has a, if we go back here, this has a lot of room to move down here now in terms of the daily chart. So this one you have to, if you have to cut your losses on that. Again, the whole key is if you risk $1,000 in each of these, you're going to have plenty of opportunity to take some that are at least twice your initial risk. Avon starting to come off the bottom there. It's making some progress. And Hershey's, this one's trying to get going. Ran to the 100% initial risk line there, pulled back with everything on Friday. So we'll see if this can continue to move higher. And then Boeing from 124.43. Let's see the high of the move there, just under 130. So here's your next resistance level here. It sold off with everything on Friday, so we'll see if the 50 period holds here and we get a last run up into the decision point target there. All right, ran over a little bit tonight. Hope that's helpful. Economic data this week, it'll be slow, probably Monday and Tuesday, and then things really pick up. Well, actually on the afternoon on Wednesday with the Fed minutes, and then full slate on Thursday and Friday. So have a good rest of your trading week, and we'll see you back next week.